we have a really beautiful, special friendship. And we are...
I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Friendship is earned.
Yeah.
And it's earned over time, right? Like, I don't want to trauma bond in it.
Never downplay the fact that somebody might be in therapy because of you. Isn't that good? Like...
A lot of times people meet you and you'll have some type of chemistry or kindness, and then it's just like, okay, oh yeah, that's my girl, we're friends.
Right.
No, we're not yet, actually. And that's okay. Like, can we sink into the beauty of getting to know someone?
Looking internally to say, okay, how can I make better choices?
Yeah.
What do I need to release? But also journey, like, love yourself through all this process, right? But do go through the process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Don't forget the process.
Please don't forget the process.
Welcome to the Deeply Well podcast, a soft place to land on your journey. A podcast for those that are curious, creative, and ready to expand in higher consciousness and self-care. This is where we heal. This is where we transform. Welcome back to the show. This month, we are diving into some juicy themes. And again, of course, hello everybody. I'm Devi Brown. This is my show. We are here to do the work. We're here to do it with grace, ease, presence, honesty, truth, humility, joy. All of the things is how we explore all of the work we are here to do on earth. This month, we are kicking off what I feel is going to be a deeply shifting work. We focused a few months ago on integrity. We focused last month on the rituals to really bring about that feeling and those seasons of devotion that are necessary. And this month, we are diving into the theme of values. There's a lot of collective conversation that is happening around some of these bigger themes like integrity, like values, like having a mission, like being in purpose. But what are the truth and the depth of those words? Sometimes we can just coast on the surface of what something means, especially if we are just going by Instagram infographics. But to get to the root of the root is always the work that is required. And exploring what values are, what they mean to us, what they can mean. Do we have any? Do we not? Where can we? That is going to be the work of what we explore all month long. And I'm really excited because we are kicking off this month with a very, very, very special guest, a friend of the show, a dear, dear, dear real life friend and sister of mine, and a absolute fan favorite episode of last season. Welcome back to the show, Lalah Delia.
Thank you.
Sister, she here.
Sister.
So Lalah Delia is a spiritual writer, a certified spiritual practitioner, a global meditation teacher, best-selling author, and founder of Vibrate Higher Daily School. She guides seekers on transformative journeys towards empowerment, self-realization, and actualization. Her work in spiritual and subconscious development empowers individuals to transcend limitations, live authentically, and align with their divine life path, true essence, and higher purpose. Through spiritual writings, meditations, and soulful teachings, Lalah inspires individuals to open up to expansion and vibrational well-being. Lalah can be found featured in podcasts, documentaries, print magazines such as Vogue, Essence, and Yoga Journal, and in other various media outlets such as CBS Mornings, Good Morning America, and Entertainment Tonight. In her work, Lalah addresses the personal and energetic goals, universal challenges, and divine opportunities of the hero and conduit's journey. Her work is direct healing response to her personal journey and a nurturing response to the current vibrational state of the world, helping us to journey through, overcome, and rise in daily. Discover more of her work and virtual community at vibratehigherdaily.com. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank you. It feels so good. So warm. It feels so warm to be here. Always, of course, as you know. Yeah. Thank you.
Sis.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this episode a few times over the past few weeks.
Yeah.
And I know when I was first like, I want you to come back on the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were talking, we have a really beautiful, special friendship. And we are.
I'm so grateful. Thank you.
We be in the depths.
Yes.
I mean, like, we'll literally look up and we'll be like, okay, so it's been 4 hours.
Yeah.
Let's get off the phone. Like,
let's hydrate.
let's go hydrate. Let's get a snack. We'll catch up on the rest. But one of the things that I know as women, we are always in conversation about and kind of exploring and really observing deeply is our value systems. Our relationship to the world is something you and I think, are always kind of negotiating and navigating.
Yeah.
Our personal health journeys, our relationship with our bodies, with our nutrients, with our rest is something that we're always kind of in deep conversation with together as friends and sisters. And when we were talking about this episode, I thought, this is the perfect person I want to be kind of in real-time exploration of values on. And let me know how you feel. But I was thinking the focus of this episode, maybe we could lean into values within friendship.
Yes, I would love it. I would love it. And I think it's so necessary because I do get a lot of inquiries on friendship and, like this, how do I apply this in my relationships and friendships? Or, how do I have a sister circle or a community that feels supportive? Because not everyone has it. Like, I know I didn't always have this, and it's like having this really is for me. And in this episode, it's like, let's give back. Like, let's pay it forward and let's like share the inside of sisterhood. And what I would say is really leaned in, attentive, present, unconditional sisterhood. Like, this is not that sisterhood. It's like, yes, sister, or sis. This is not sis, but this is sis. Sis. My sister. It's just so beautiful to me. So thank you. Thank you for how you show up, how you sister. Like, thank you, how you friend. It truly is. You like, a lot of time there's a lot. So we have love for the 90s. So like a lot of stuff is like, this is 90s. This is, I remember our album cover from like the last show, the BTS,
our photo shoot. Yeah.
It was like 90s. So, but like for me, like our friendship and our conversations are very much like 90s.
Yeah.
It's that nostalgia.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's that like kind of like that analog feeling, I think, where it's like.
Bingo.
Because both of us too, we are just, girl, where do I even begin? I think we've explored this, and something that I think, whether it's because of like our energy, the way that we look, the way that people have met us at this exact pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Not everyone has seen the documentary To Our Lives, but we're two people that I think have this archetype of a very much a graceful voice, graceful kind of look. Like, we both have a lot of innate nurturance in the way that we're designed to be.
Yeah.
But we have both been through, especially at young ages, like really dirty, dark, hard things where we were in environments people wouldn't have never expected us to be in. We were negotiating and having circumstances just very literally with people that no one could ever even imagine that we'd come across. So sometimes this sense of goodness or naivete or this belief that there was like an ease in life that other people didn't get is really projected on us.
Yeah.
To where it's big time. And it's like we incarnated as wise women at very young ages. But then there was just kind of a lot of darkness that we met very young to be embodied in this wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah, and I said this on Jaya John's podcast before. I was like, we were sent into the underworld.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we really were. And I remember also saying one time to that very point is that it's because of what I've been through and having survived it, overcame it, like survivor, overcomer, and then thriver, right?
Yeah.
And so like those three parts. So I wasn't, so you didn't meet me at survivor. You didn't meet me at overcomer. You're meeting me at thriver. So you can't judge where you're meeting me based on, where you think my whole life has come from. Or when you met me when I was just down spiraling, like you just would not have recognized me. You know what I mean? Or you would have judged me differently, or, you would have passed my little Instagram page up, right? Because what I would have had to offer then just would not be anything of substance. And so it's because of the work that I had to do to heal is why you can maybe look at me and say, oh, it's easier said than done. Or, sometimes you get those, or,
oh God, yeah.
Right. Or you don't, but you don't understand this. And I'm like, no.
They're like, oh, peace, love and light.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, but this has been the path of Rumi.
Listen,
where you let darkness be your candle, baby.
Listen, and what does it say? The broken pieces are where the light comes in.
Yeah, the wound is where the light enters you.
The wound is where the light enters you. So it's like, I think we have to normalize people, like peaceful people and people who are just have really found their, as I call it, divine life path.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it doesn't come with like a storm behind the story.
Yeah.
Or hills and mountains they had to climb.
And to be honest, I'm genuinely curious, have you ever met an embodied peaceful person that did not pay their wage through darkness?
Never.
I've never.
I mean, for goodness sakes, Thich Nhat Hanh. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the most zenned out, peaceful monk you could ever want to meet and see and read and, keep up with. But even with him, there was, just so much turmoil he had to come through. He had his own monks were set ablaze, set themselves on fire. Yeah. His monasteries were bombed. Like there is so much that the peaceful soul goes through to get to peace.
Yeah.
Like when that is your calling on the planet.
Yeah.
So we didn't know, like when we were younger, but one day your calling will really be to carry peace and to emit peace and to embody peace and what it looks like. But don't get it twisted though, because we still, what does Erica say? Like, don't let all this love and light fool you, or something, but
still learn to throw hands.
And for me, sometimes throwing hands is like, so now, like, as I think Lauren was like, said something really good about you one time, was like, about how you have like the most powerful like way with words. You know what I mean? Like just sword, weapon. You know what I mean? Because sometimes that's how you throw hands. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And for me, like seeing you put all this out into the world, it's like, wow, look at my sis. Where if this was us in the 90s and maybe the early 2000s, like throwing hands will look completely different. Maybe on some timeline it is physically throwing hands. But now, it's like we learn to use our weaponry different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, it's like that exploration of when you are on the path of peace, or you're meant to teach peace, embody peace. You have to know the barriers everyone has up against it. Yeah. Right? So you have to understand that when you're here to share this message, you have to know what you're going to face and the kind of inner suffering or turmoil or darkness that people have faced that make them think it's not possible.
Right.
And then you show them anyway, and you are that anyway. And also, I have to say quick shout out to our dear sister, Lauren London, that you mentioned, because that is our boo. She should be here too.
That's our boo.
So you know what, Layla, when we think about values in friendship, like I think that is something, it's something that's really coming to the forefront now, because I think for many who have connected to the work, they've spent the last several years, especially since the pandemic, exploring themselves, creating space, healing some things, which then takes you to the next level of the journey, which is coming out of hermit mode or coming out of that self-isolation and understanding how to build community that is really authentic to who and what you are. So I've noticed, especially in the last, year or so, those are a lot of the conversations of people saying, wait a minute, what is friendship or what is sisterhood? Or I want to have that feeling. And so the beginning stages of that are happening for people. So this is really timely because I think we can talk about, how did we figure out our friend style as individuals together with other people in our lives, and where do we really hold value in friendship? And for each of us, and I can't stress this enough to everybody listening, really understand how different that may be for each of us and how important it is to notice what those differences and needs are, because we don't all require the same thing in friendship, right? And we definitely don't all necessarily have the same things to give, but that isn't necessarily the threshold of whether is someone a good friend or not. It's just what is most yoked to what I can give and what I need to receive.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. And I do think that's the sign. Like, that's it. What you just said is it. That awareness of we may not give the same things. But we're both giving. Like our love language, our friend, like our sister languages, love languages, friendship languages may be a little different, but everyone's bringing something to the table where the table is full. Right. And like we're sitting at our feast and we're enjoying. And what I love like about us is like we don't even count, like we don't even know who brought what. We just feel it. You know what I mean? Like it's we can't even put a pinpoint on like this is what you do, and in our sister circle, and when we kind of zoom out into our bigger sister circle with our other sisters, it's like sometimes you can't put a it's almost like its own morphic field to where it's creating its own energy, and for sure when it's in it, because it's so often we're just like it's like hours, and especially when we're together like in person, it's just like whoa, whether we are laid out doing spiritual work with each other, whether we're like dancing or in ceremony or whatever it is. And like for me, like traveling, like when I was at the Chopra retreat, I just remember having you there, and that was my first big retreat. And you literally were there as like a grounding force. And okay, y'all, I always tell Devi about the hug because she's forever going to hear about this hug, because this was like the hug of all hugs. And it was like the grandmother hug and I was nervous. So Landrell and I were going to like go on stage, and I was like 400 people, like just
it was
all
so many
sitting.
people, and it was also
massive.
We were under the stars and the moon. We were on a white sand beach. Like it was a
sensory overload, right? It was so gorgeous. And I was just like, whoa. And then you could hear the ocean waves. So it was so much happening to where as soon as you gave me a hug and like you just gave me these affirmational words, like, you got this, sis, you're going to do so good. And it was the way you said it you spoke to my inner child. You got past the adults, and you spoke right to inner child. And that's what sisterhood can do. Right? It can pierce through years and years and go right to the part of you that needs to hear that. Right?
Thank you. That was and y'all killed it. Like it was just such a beautiful, beautiful weekend that we had there.
That was beyond.
That was beyond. And then you and Landrell were on that beautiful stage. Shout out to our brother. And you were singing and you were speaking. And I remember the audience, like everyone's eyes were closed and they were just like moving their bodies. Like it was so special. And then we just danced the whole rest of the night.
Oh my goodness,
on the
the
beach.
dance, the after party.
And there was the Soul Train line on the...
Literally.
Oh, that was so good.
That was so good.
God, that was
I loved the impromptu, like all the guests had left by that time. And it was like, I don't know, like, I don't know how many, 50, I don't know how many of us were there at this point. Yeah, the impromptu Soul Train line happened, and we were just so free. And that for me, and I remember a point when everyone got together and hugged. And we did a huddle because like we're going to go out. And I remember I said a prayer, I think you may have said a prayer, and I think Lundrell said a prayer. And we were just like, okay, we're good. You know, we're taking this with us into the field, where whatever field we're going to after here is going to be charged up with this. Do you remember that? Yeah.
Sis,
Yeah.
I do.
Remember that? Yeah.
And we all got our jewelry pieces together, our talisman piece.
Shout out to Mary.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Shout out to Mary. Shout out to, God, those gorgeous, stunning malas from Open Heart Warrior.
Yes.
So you know what? There's this piece that you brought up that I think is important for us to settle into. You were talking about how you were sharing that story, and you said, and like, that's what like sisterhood feels like, the moment of like speaking into an inner child, right?
Yeah.
And I think I can be very aloof. I'm an only child. I'm a latchkey kid raised by a single parent, and I'm a double Gemini and a Leo, and I'm Venus and Taurus. Like, I'm highly independent and highly tapped in to my inner world, right? So it's like, and we are very similar in that way, where we need a lot of alone time. We need a lot of personal space to be in our craft, to be in our connection with God. And so I've always been such a deep feeler that I've always rejected performance in everything, especially performative friendships.
Yeah.
And I remember it was probably like 15 years ago, God was like, don't use this trend talk for people when you're talking about people you know. Stop calling everybody your brother. Stop calling everybody your sister. Growing up in hip hop as a young adult, it's like, oh, that's bro, that's sis, that's family. Right? In the entertainment world, like, that's kind of a way you throw vernacular, but it's also to create false approximation, right? False proximity, false sense of, you know, your own esteem or how you're received. And I've just always disliked that. And so whenever people, like, I'm not big on people, oh, sis, yes, sis, like, stuff like that would just always bother me, because there was nothing, I wouldn't see deeper things, or I'd see people call each other that, but there was no real sisterhood present. There was no depth. There was no, you didn't know each other. And so I would just always be like that. I'm very intentional about not performing friendship with people if we are not friends. From photos to the way that I write captions, then I don't want to perform that, because friendship is earned, and it's earned over time, right? Like, I don't want to trauma bond in it. I don't want to just, we both like the same makeup, or like have the same sense of fashion, or, and so, we're the same. No, we're not. Right? Like, you actually have to get to know me for me to be in your life. And I have to get to know you. And I think the way that I always approach friendship is with a lot of sobriety, like a lot of deep presence. Like, I don't want to even friend flirt. You know, I have a nice aura. I have a good spirit. So, like,
I like that friend flirt.
So, you know, it's like a lot of times people meet you and you'll have some type of chemistry or kindness. And then it's just like, okay, oh yeah, that's my girl. We're friends.
Right.
No, we're not yet, actually. And that's okay. Like, can we sink into the beauty of getting to know someone? You know, can we sink into the beauty of that slow buildup, just like in romantic relationship, that there are milestones that we hit, that there are different moments and seasons that have to take time and play out in the way that they do, so you know if this is a sacred person in your life. You know, it's so, I believe in approaching friendship with a lot of intention and a lot of time, and like, one good night of us hanging out, it doesn't mean that we are that deep, but there is potential for it, you know? So just, you know, I say all that to say, like, when you brought that up, it's like, for me, that is what friendship feels like. It's like, do you see my scars and hold me accordingly? You know what I mean? Like, have you listened enough to me to know what I walk through, to know how to treat me when we're together? And even how to treat me if you don't get your way, but not cause me harm, you know? Because I think about that a lot with my friends. The majority of my close friendships are people that have been through a lot of shit like I have. So I'm not going to go off. I'm not going to treat you in a transactional way, because I know that can be very disruptive to your psyche and your soul.
Very.
Because it has been to mine. You know? So it's like, Or if you don't respond right away or within the month, I'm not going to freak out and now think we have beef. I might say, hey, you might be having some PTSD this month, right? Like you may be having a flare up this month. I know that happens to me. You know, so it's just like that I think, so that is what that is, right?
Yes. Oh, it so is. And it's like this grace. But I love what you said about taking time to get to know each other as friends, because I feel like that's a lost art.
Yeah.
Where, you know, so like what's coming to me now is like, you know how the whole thing about relationships, like everyone wants to rush in, right? Like rush in and just be it. Like, what are we now? You know, like in intimate relationships.
Post a pic about it.
Yeah. Like, can we post a pic? Can we post us now? Or can we take a pic? And, but
what's our label?
Yeah. Like, what's our label? Like, what am I to you? You know, but that translates the same thing in friendships. And so we have to be mindful of what that looks like. And again, do the work. And one beautiful thing that I give thanks for with my grandmothers, but these were women who held space in community. These were the elders. These were the mothers. These were the women like mothering the community. So I really got to see how you show up in community. So when I wouldn't have that, I would feel so off center.
Yeah.
And when I would go against that feeling, to me, that's when my relationship with friendship was like leading in a toxic direction. So when I was younger, when I wouldn't feel the warmth. So sometimes, like for instance, you'll feel a connection with someone just because they're around.
Yeah.
Versus a connection with someone.
It's circumstantial.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not that we really have things in common.
Right.
And that this is really healthy for me. And this is really what a friendship should be. But because, you know, we know how to contact each other and, you know, it's like this routine. It becomes a routine of being friends. And that just doesn't feel good. And things don't grow in that way. But when you can hold out, so like when you can go through the desert and sometimes release, most of the times, those are the relationships that have to be released or sacrificed in order for you to attract your true sisterhood, you know, like that true sisterhood. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Isn't it always like the most interesting feeling when you get to that in like the journey of our own work, when you get to that next level of knowing you access, like your bar has risen.
Yeah.
Like getting to the space where you know that your bar has risen in all the areas of your life. And so every person that's coming in, you're kind of like, oh.
Yes.
Oh, I knew this existed.
Yes.
I wasn't ready for it yet.
Yeah.
Right? Or I didn't know how to show up in it yet, but I knew it existed. And then the more work you do, it all just starts coming to you effortlessly. But especially when you surrender to the shed, when you say like, what's right here is not enough.
No.
And whether or not anything better takes its place, I know I cannot keep doing this. And I think that's the case with friendships too. It's like you have to sometimes you have to renegotiate all the contracts, all the agreements you've made with people and say like, yeah, this made a lot of sense when we happened to go to school together, which was a circumstance.
Yeah.
Neither of us chose that.
Right.
But now,
no,
this actually doesn't meet my needs. Like this isn't enough.
Right. Right.
What do you, when you think of what you need, what you look for, what you require in friendship from another person, what's your type?
I love authenticity. Because I love knowing who I'm a friend of. The energy. And really that's what it is. It's a relationship with energy, you know, energy to energy. And I could just say that about each of my close friends, you know, each of you, I can go down the list, like just truly in your most authentic self. Like this is so who you are. There's no fronting. There's no like dimming. Like it's just real, right? And what I love too, like being on this side of it now, as you said, like, you know, it's not circumstantial. This is like I say, chosen family, right?
Yeah.
What I love about it is that now you get to be your full self. So like I get to be your sister, your friend, while you're in this work, in doing your purpose, like what makes your soul feel alive. I can support that. I can hold that. I love that. And it's like, it resonates with what I do. Like iron sharpens, like we're sharpening each other. And it feels so much different when that's not the case, when it's not evenly yoked, or, when you're on this path, but then they don't understand you, there's a new language that your body wants to speak through you. Like your body wants you to speak different, to think different, to radiate differently. But every time you get on the phone and every time you're around them, because of that cell memory, the body is going to go back to that familiar frequency. Yeah. And so it's like, for me, when I can stay in the higher vibratory frequency, and I'm like, oh, and I still get to be in a friendship and a sisterhood, and it's always like this. So I want even the person listening now that doesn't believe that was available for them, it is. Yeah. But like you said, there has to be, like, if you don't have it, we have to look at where can I shed either behavior, because sometimes we got to look at us. Carolyn Mice, she often says, she was like, never downplay the fact that somebody might be in therapy because of you.
Damn, that's good.
Isn't that good? Like, that is so good. And it's like, okay, well, in that case.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, and I really want to offer this, if you were listening and this may not be the current experience, but it's a craving.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Everything is truly in divine time.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you could be in a friend group and you find it to be so frustrating, so lonely.
Yeah.
And it's such a triggering force in your life.
Yeah.
And it's there for a reason too, right? Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about your circumstance?
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't mean that's what the work is. It doesn't mean that like, well, I'm such a good person and why can't I have great friends that are as good to me as I am to them? On the surface, that sounds so reasonable.
Yeah.
It sounds so completely reasonable. Absolutely. You can be a great person, but you don't make good choices.
See, and that's
God doesn't.
The real.
I'm going to be so honest about this.
Yeah.
God, the universe, life does not reward goodness. It rewards good choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like goodness just by itself is the same thing as passivity, right? Like it's nice to look at, it sounds good, but it's not in action, right? Action requires choice.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely had those seasons where I had some terrible homegirls. Horrible. I mean, diabolical.
Yeah.
You know, people I thought were homegirls, and my God, they were not. They were absolutely scheming and manipulating and looking to cause harm. And I remember feeling so confused and so frustrated by saying like, but I'm a great person. I'm a good person and I care about them. All of that is true. And for whatever reasons, I wasn't making higher choices.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that the higher choice is that you instantaneously pick better friends. The higher choice is very often being alone.
Oh, I saw that vision.
Being alone first,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And healing whatever in you settles for less in anyone.
Yeah.
Whether that is a romantic partner, a friendship, a work environment.
Yeah.
It's like you settling for less is where the work is. Heal all that for all the many reasons that could be the case. And there's so many.
Yeah.
And usually they're all painful. And then you get out of it.
Yeah.
And then after that, you start slowly practicing how to be in good choice making with friendships.
Yeah.
Right? You don't trauma bond. You don't pour out your deepest, darkest secrets to the person you met because you have good chemistry and now you think you're sisters and you're bonded because you know each other's darkness, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, and that's how I think friendship has been taught for so long. It's like you see a girl, you like each other, and then you pour out your heart, and then now you're expecting one another to be perfect for each other for all time.
Yeah.
It's not how it works, you
Yeah.
know? And I think you slowly get in practice. You see what kind of friend you are, what you require, and then the higher choices come. And then before you know it, the only thing that comes to you is a good choice. Like, I don't have to think about friendships anymore. One, all my needs are met. I actually don't have a lot of room for more deep friendships. I just want to go deeper with who I have.
I love that.
But I don't have to question. I don't have to network. I don't have to network with friends. I know who God sends to me.
Yeah.
It's clear. And I know that then we have time to explore it, you know?
Yeah. I love that. That is so powerful. And I think this is getting so juicy, because this is the type of friendship conversation that is not being had, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like usually surface level, right? Of like, oh, well, do we resonate and do we this and that? But also it's like, what do I need to let go of to raise the vibration? And when I do let go, sometimes it's like when you put yourself through that desert where you have to look at your own behavior. And I think of like Lauryn Hill in this moment, like, how you going to win when you're not right within, right? And so I think she just ain't. How you going to win when you ain't right within? Let's say it right. So it's like looking internally to say, okay, how can I make better choices?
Yeah.
What do I need to release? But also journey, like, love yourself through all this process, right? But do go through the process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Don't forget the process.
Please don't forget the process, because it's like, it's going to be an undone journey. And then there's like all these beautiful connections that are waiting for you as soon as you get to a certain vibratory frequency, or as soon as you get to a level of self-worthiness, you know, self-value. And I do believe that plays a big part when you can sit with yourself for a while in a desert alone, knowing I'm letting go of people I know are not supposed to be in my life, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to let go, because either you're going to let go or they're going to let go. And it's not going to feel good if they let go, you know? So it's like, do it while the divine, the most high God is giving you a chance, at least to have your dignity.
It's your choice. Yeah.
While it's your choice, you could keep your dignity. You could feel good about it. You could feel in your power. But if not, you know, if we have to go the harder route, you know, some of us do, then you're like, I was going to end this anyway, you know, or you can't break up with me. I was going to break up with you. You know, that whole thing we used to do when we were little kids. But it's like, once you can sit through that, and it's almost like in the energetic realm, you have to show up with like this at the portal of better friendships, like just empty, no baggage, nothing. And just with self-worth of like, yeah, I was willing. I have so much love for myself and respect that I can be alone.
Yeah.
And look at everybody turning up on Instagram. You know, I don't have to resonate with any of that. I'm not missing out. But then the sisterhood, the real friendship comes from that worthiness.
Yeah.
And that authenticity and that level, it meets you where you are. But I think that's such a beautiful point to like go through the process, know that it is a process and that it can happen. And then if it's not happening yet, it's just like, where do I have to do the work? And knowing that there may be a long time when you're called to be alone.
Yeah.
And in that time, it's like, maybe it's not about friendships. Like, are you, okay, where are we at purpose-wise?
Yep.
Is there anything that needs to be healed? Is there anything that needs to be forgiven? Is there anything that maybe your body just needs rest and to be your own friend? You know, are you a friend of yourself? Like, can you enjoy your own company?
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of, I would say a lot of points to find something to keep you busy when the friendships aren't coming, but you know you're doing the work, right?
Yeah. And you know what I was thinking too? Like, I feel like we're like walking the path of illustrating really like all like the depth, like the beauty of what it is to like build this new world for yourself when you are doing and have done the work.
Bingo.
And the new world still has to be built after you've built yourself, right? But it's such a different feeling because like now you're above ground and you're in choice and you understand your value and worth. And I think part of like me being able to call in the more aligned friendships where I was actually having my heart reflected back to me, which and God dang it, I wish she was here, because I so feel like, especially with like what you, me, and Lauren share, like the three of us together is so special. And when I think about the two of you, it's like you're both women who literally reflect my exact heart back to me in a way that like I've never quite felt it or seen it. Like, especially in the ways that the three of us are so similar. Like to know us, right? Like maybe to the outside world or our paths have looked different, or where we've arrived has been different. But like we, on a cellular soul level, look so similar in the way God has sometimes designed the way we learn things about ourselves and our path. And so it's like, with the two of you, I get my exact heart reflected to me, which is such a special feeling. And you don't know how special and enriching it'll feel until you finally have that happen. But we share we have similar sensitivities. We have similar ways that we are very independent because we've done so much alone for so long. But the three of us have complete ease with being in community and being in service with anyone, but especially with ourselves. Like we've always been probably the nurturers of our individual ecosystems, like the lovers of our individual systems, like the big mamas of our individual ecosystems.
But that's what it feels like. Like we're each big mamas coming together. That's what it feels like to me. Because, I always say the grandmothers. Are sisters of the light.
We are the grandmothers.
It's like just a warm pot of like just old soul energy coming together. And we're just like, it's just like old soul, like it, and there's a lot of ease.
So much ease. There's so much ease. And especially in having deep respect for each individual's journey and each individual's kind of ways that they shine, like the beauty and the service and the way it happens through each of us in our unique ways and our unique patterns, and we each have reverence for that and respect for that, and it's very beautiful. It's very special. And I think to have that experience, you also have to really recognize your value and worth, not just as a woman, but as a friend, and be honest about that. Like, what am I and what do I have to give? And I think as I was doing some of my, all the work of exploring friendships over time, a big pivotal piece for me and kind of calling in the level of friendship. And I'm really grateful and blessed because, my God, do I have incredible best friends. Like I really like just, what I shared, of course, about you and Lauren, but also like I have handfuls of profound relationships in my life. And some of them I have been lucky to know over 20 years, and some I met last year but it's like, I'm really grateful for that because I have no deficit in that area, no lack. But it's also because it took me a while to get here. I realized how much I bring to the table as a friend. And I can be honest about that. I can own that within myself, that like, hey, you have a lot of worth and you have a lot of value and you're a good friend to people and you deserve to have it reflected back. And if it's not, you don't have to stay. It's the same thing about getting out of relationships that don't serve us, right? We can be in abusive friendships. There are some friendships that are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically abusive. There are some that are, to be quite honest, just beneath you. That you've outgrown or you are too good for. There is not alignment and integrity. And so you have to know that you can go. You can go.
That is so important because I feel like, oh, can we go here?
Please.
Like, can we go here? Okay.
What we doing?
Okay. So this is where I truly feel like what you just said is just so profound because we have to be careful that our spirituality doesn't cause us to not be mindful and to not hold people accountable. And I would say this, like just how you just said, some relationships are beneath you. I'm feeling the person out there. Well, what do you mean by that? There's no hierarchy. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Like that's just we live in a universe of polarity, of duality. If you think that that's not true, you know what I mean?
In terms of who God loves, there's no hierarchy, right?
Yes,
like God's
yes.
love is infinite and equal.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, some people put more into their lives.
Yes.
Some people put more love into the world.
Yes.
And some people exist with a high level of integrity and some people do not. And there is a difference, not in how much God loves you,
Right.
but there is a difference in terms of
Yeah.
I'm not going to be in deep friendship or relationship, for example, with someone that is a pathological liar, that causes harm to others,
Yes.
that is self-serving and does not live in service.
Right.
That is beneath my value system
Right.
and my levels of ideals and
Yeah.
integrity.
Yeah. No, that's it. And for me, what that can look like is, so for instance, some of my history was abuse, verbally abusive friendships, toxic friendships, verbally abusive and physically abusive relationships. So
Yeah.
if I did not allow myself to have a hierarchy of needs, right? And when we think about the hierarchy of needs, I suggest anyone please look this up if you want to understand just this pyramid. Like just your own personal pyramid in life that you can create for yourself to say, okay, where are my needs being met? And then you can look at that and say, where are my needs being met in a relationship, in a friendship? Like, so in Maslow's hierarchy, Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the base level is survival mode. And then at the very top, at the peak of the pyramid is self-actualization, self-realization. So how do we put this into a friendship, Layla? Okay, so let me tell you. So in a friendship, it would be, we're just at base level. It's a lot of root trauma, bonding. We're always trying to figure out, what are we? We never can get over, well, you did this to me and I feel a certain way. It's just like friction. It's just always friction. Now, there can be friction at different levels, but if it's always that, if that's like the running frequency and the energy, then okay, this needs to either vibrate higher or I need to make a better choice. Like I need to now choose something. And so my language work, I would say vibrate higher. So I'm always going to come to that. And when I say vibrate higher, again, it doesn't mean like, it's something is.
You're not bypassing.
You're not bypassing, but you are so aware that, for instance, we know if the body can sit in an environment with a certain frequency, it will heal. Cells will really mend. So energy really is real. Like we have to get away from being scared to call a thing, you know, and to say like, this is not good for me. I need something better, higher frequency, more higher vibrationally. And I think that we don't need to be afraid of that. And if we are afraid of that, I just invite whoever that is being afraid to take a look at yourself and say, where does that fear come from for me to make a better choice for myself?
Yeah.
To say, I want to go up the pyramid, because if I stay here where everything is okay, and really at root level, there's no like, sometimes that's where you don't have self-dignity, you don't have self-respect. Sometimes you do. But then in order to get past that, it's like there has to be some level of work that is done, whether it's self-work or even support work from a community. But some choices have to be made in order for you to get to the next level, right? So this is what we talked about, like us, like we were at the root level bottom, like rock bottom. I know I was like, right. Yeah. And like, for instance, me in my past, sitting in a jail cell, like people would never think Layla was like, what? Well, yeah, like rock bottom before. But the choices I had to make were real. They were uncomfortable. And I had to make the real choices of saying, this feels good. And if I stay in it, I'm not going to ruffle any feathers, but I have to choose something out of this. Like I needed a better life. And the only language I had for it then was a better life. I didn't have the terminology, higher vibrational, higher frequency. But when you start to deal with higher frequency people and situations and environments, they do what they do. You know, they're going to start to heal you. They're going to start to reflect your higher self back to you versus lower self, right? And when we think about the most high, right, there's the most low. Like, you know, who is the most high? Well, that's maybe your creator, this higher source of power. And who could be the polar opposite of that, most low? Maybe that's, you know, some people would think, you know, demonic or satanic or, you know, evil, whatever. But just that polar opposite on this planet is just so important to keep intact when we're just moving through situations. And then zooming in, I would say, like, what is the reflection of that? How people treat you? Like, are they being their most high self, their most low self? Yeah. And friendships and how they show up, and then how you show up. So yeah, so I wanted to make sure that I shared that, because I do not want us, and especially me turning 50 this year, like, if there's something that I could share with younger people, it's don't lose your sense of values in a world that is always trying to make you think that everything has to be about instant gratification. Everything has to be about everybody, you know, is on the same playing field, when we know that's just not the case. Yeah. Like, my abuser is not on my same playing field. It's just, there's no way you could tell me that. And that's just not what it is in nature. You know, like you put two seeds in the ground, one that's molded or, you know, just no life in it, and one that is full of life energy. This one's going to sprout. This one is not going to sprout. And this one may contaminate the soil. So we have to understand that can also reflect in us in relationships as well.
That was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also 50 where?
Girl, listen. This 50?
I was at your 50th birthday party. Like, this is a charade. This is all a lie. She is 22.
Oh my God. I just want to say thank y'all for that 50th birthday party. Oh I still.
That was the best day.
Listen, it was a dream.
Oh my God. Were you surprised?
I was shocked. And the whole time I kept asking India, where are we going? I could not figure it out. I was like, what are we doing?
India did that. Your beautiful, amazing daughter did that.
Thank you. I'm just so grateful for her. And, you know, I'm thankful for you all, just like how you all are able to just be such beautiful, just energy and figures around her. You know, she's, as you know, she's just like so inspired, and, you know, it's just love all around.
Well, and she's inspiring.
Yeah.
She's a very, very, very inspiring young woman. I love looking at. Why am I going to cry right now?
Oh my gosh. Okay, are we going?
What just happened? Yeah, I always look at India's Instagram page, and it's just something I love so much. Is one, she's so wise, you know, and so you see the power of your motherhood in her life, and you see her unique journey and wisdom and strength that is completely her own too. Yeah. So it's this it's this very beautiful world and life she's creating for herself.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for seeing that. And I'm glad India's here. So I'm glad she can hear and just get her flowers. She's like, we're like looking at her over there. She's like, she's getting these flowers now. Yeah. Like, so, and that just goes to show also that she is doing the work herself. Yeah. And you're right. And one thing about like mothering her through all the stages, like young women coming into your own, was just like the pattern I saw for her was like, she really wanted to figure it out. Even when she wasn't figuring it out and going through the awkward stages, was like, she really wanted to figure it out. And so that's where I, as a mother, was just like, okay, my job is to help her figure it out. And when there's rebellion, like when she was like, you know, she's 27 now, but like in the 17 and 18, I often say like, you have to mother in the spirit, like mothering in the physical. Like, I mean, you're in a mother day to day, but when it comes to like giving advice and doing this, a lot of that is going to turn into almost like, spiritual coaching, life coaching. Like I literally read something, and I don't know who to give credit to this for, but it said something like, you're a different you at each stage for your child. So like an infant, you know, you're like that parent. Yeah. Adolescence, you're a certain parent. Teenage, you're a certain parent. And then you go from parent to teacher to coach. You know, and I was like, that is so true. And it's just us when we can feel like as parents, well, we can let go. Because I remember feeling like, okay, she's 18, but she's still my child. She's still my daughter. But then when she wants to start getting her own independence, I had to make a choice to say, okay, this is a sign. This is a really good sign, like energetically, spiritually, that everything's working. You know, she's not having failure to launch. She wants to go be independent. But there's some rebellion. And so I just worked with the spirit. I was like, I'm gonna go into spirit. And spirit just told me how to deal with it. And so it was a lot of prayer, and it was me, like they say in the Christian church, the gospel, you know, in the Black church is like, you got to be a witness. Like I had to embody the message that I wanted her to see as far as like femininity, and get that so that it would counter what she was going through in the world, whether she was, you know, enjoying it, not enjoying it, having good friends, not good friends. She would also have that in her life. And, you know, she came from that from grandmother and stuff like that, as we have that. But she experienced the polarity. And I'm glad she did, because now it's just made her stronger and wiser. And, you know, she can honestly sit in a circle of women now and carry her own and really know how to show up in an embodiment that is authentic. You know what I mean? It's not like she's no longer like, sit down, you know, don't touch something, sit down, you know, don't talk too much, you know, all that. But it's like, no, I have this, I got this. And I think that for me, what I've noticed, like even in sisterhood and friendship and community circle, that's literally what we're all doing. Like we're learning how to be ourselves with what we've come, you know, how we got here, with what, but also like as we're still evolving into like, you know, figuring this thing out still, but carrying a certain level of growth, I think is so beautiful, because you're really in relationship with people's growth or the parts of them that they haven't chosen to grow in.
Yeah. God, right. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I give thanks for all the ways you've grown, you know, and you've evolved and bloomed and blossomed. And I love the fact that we can sit and I can call you and be like, oh, okay, this is what it is. Like, like this is where I'm at, you know, and it's like, we lean in together, you know, and it's literally like a garden. You're like, okay, I got this tool. You got that tool. Let's hit the garden. Let's figure this out. Yeah. And I love that. That's what sisterhood and friendship feels like, you know? Yeah.
I love us. Gosh, so many things. Cause even I now want to do a whole nother episode just on motherhood with you.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Cause I had so many thoughts coming in around so many of the things that you were saying, but I'm kind of scared to start, because then we'll be here for 2 hours.
We will.
And we'll be in a completely different episode. So I'm going to take notes on that for later.
Yeah.
But no, I think too, you know, something that feels, and I don't know how resonant this may be for everyone, but it is something that I've noticed and observed in friendships with women. And definitely some people I've interacted with, I've noticed a tendency in a person to do this, but it usually falls under the, you know, work is still being completed. We all go through a self-righteous phase, right? When we're learning and growing, and we go into a phase where you think you kind of stop looking at yourself, and you think you're just meant to apply what you're learning to everybody else, and you're giving everybody else advice and all the things. Yeah. And I'm somebody that always has an affront to that with anybody. And I think we're very similar in that, because when you have created yourself, I don't need anyone to come in and give me advice that is not resonant for me, because you're feeling yourself and you want to be in kind of that position of authority. Yes. So it's like, I've never liked when people are like, you know, like, just because they're older than you, they start calling themselves your big sis. And it's like, to have that placement means something. It requires something. It means there was a sense that I had need, that you came in and kind of helped, right? And so I notice in a lot of friendships, especially with women that are, you know, doing beautiful work in the world sometimes, or have a purpose-driven life, or have a social media following, they create these hierarchies where it's like, oh, I have to be in this position though in the group, or I have to come in the group this way, and I give advice, but I don't let anything in, or, and so it's really important to start evaluating, even if there is friend community around you, with non-judgment, start evaluating, well, who am I now? And how does that feel now? Or what is the placement between us? And is there equal give and receive? Because sometimes people can show up in relationships and give to avoid themselves and give to avoid intimacy or any real growth. And then not allow the other person to kind of come in the ways that they should. And so, I feel that I love that too. Because when you were talking about, it's like you show up authentically. You show up as yourself, which means there is no performance. And when there's not performance, nothing is trying to be concealed, which means sometimes I'm in the position of having a word to give. And sometimes you're in the position of having a word to give. And sometimes we're in a position going back and forth like that for 4 hours or simply witnessing the word in one another. And I think that's the beauty of what I love about the friendships in my life right now.
Oh, so
we're
beautiful.
not there solving each other's problems. Like I feel the friendships in my life are so rooted in equality. Even if we have strengths in different ways from one another, right? But we all have the room to show up in strength, and the room to show up in weakness, and the room to show up in any of it, you know? And that makes kind of all the difference. Friendships should not just be supportive when you need things. It should be supportive to your identity, to your sense of self, right? It should be supportive in the sense that it's just letting you be the fullness of whatever you are. Even strong sometimes, wise sometimes.
That's how I would say our sisterhood, our friendship feels, where it's like when you've done the work, because there will be a time when you've done the work to overcome and heal, and you don't need to run anything else other than, I just want to show up as my authentic self. Right. That energy doesn't even run in you anymore. Your mind isn't firing like that anymore. Your subconscious mind has removed blockages in this area, and you just show up authentically. And you'll know, I always write something, that's how you'll know, like that saying. So when people can allow you to show up authentically, and you're just like, I get to be authentic, like, and this is good. Nobody's feeling away. Nobody's challenging it. Nobody's trying to, that's how you'll know you're in the right room. You're in the right circle. You're in the right friendship. And that's how, that is just, in the energetic realm, authenticity is probably the most valuable energetic tool you can use. You know what I mean? Authenticity, because that's really how what's for you finds you. And when you're really being your full self, not holding your words back, maybe you do have something beautiful to add to the conversation, but you may feel like, oh, can I jump in here? Because maybe you usually can't in former relationships, but when it's your circle and your sisterhood, definitely you can. And you're going to jump in, it's almost like double Dutch, hop in, sis, what you got, let's go, we're in a flow. But when you can't do that, and it's disrupted, your flow and your authenticity is disrupted because of someone else's inability to hold it, to receive it, to be around it, to be in close proximity to that light, that radiance, that's how you'll know you're in the wrong space in relationship. And so what I've witnessed amongst us is it will be hours of just pure authentic energy. And that's what you want to look for. And this is whether this is, and I would even say this can even go to sibling relationship, anyone that you're in close relationship with, and you have a choice to spend a certain amount of time with them. And if it doesn't feel good, you have a choice not to. I think that's important to look at, to say, are we authentic? And then if it's not that, maybe sometimes it's not a matter of throwing the whole thing away. Maybe it's learning how to be authentic with each other and really sitting in the conversations of, we're going to have these conversations and do the work and learn together to grow together and not feel attacked, right? Can I point something out that I'm noticing?
Yes.
Right?
God, yes.
That is so important. It's like, help me garden my garden, because there's some stuff that I'm missing that you may know a flower in my garden that I don't understand. You have the tools and you're like, let me bring this over. You might come up and just dig up the weed for me. You know what I mean? And it's like, let's help each other garden our lives.
Yeah.
And we don't have to show up where, we're offensive and reactive. But like, if this is when you really want this next level, that will come. Sometimes there are those real conversations that had to be had in order to like smooth out the road, and to like, oh, okay, let's move. We're better for that, because of that. Yeah.
So perfectly said. Yeah. That is too, like the extra layer of friendship that when you feel safe in yourself, you attract such honesty in friends, right? Like the ability to be really honest with people and the ability to receive honesty and use it as something that's like useful and necessary for you and feel gratitude, It's like people, there was this like overused saying, it's still used a lot, but it was really used a few years ago, where people being like, I'm just keeping it real. Right. I got to keep it 100, whatever that means. And it's like, real is so relative. Like your real is dependent on your personal truth and the way you see the world. And also
very true.
Yeah. The work you've done or haven't done on yourself. Right. So our real isn't necessarily equal or valued in the same way, but that doesn't mean honesty.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean truth.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, safety with a friend, right? Because something I really value in friendship, and I have very high standards for friendship. I really do. I'll love anybody and be a great casual acquaintance to almost anybody, but like a friend, oof, yeah, you got to check.
You're teaching.
You got to check some boxes.
Yeah.
Because also too, it's like I can't be in anything dishonorable. I can't be in anything where I have to hide, right? So if my gift is that I am a truth teller, I am a seer, I am somebody that is highly intuitive, highly sensitive, and a good friend.
Yeah.
If you're going to reject the truth I have for you, right, which is always going to come with care, then this isn't the best friendship for us, because you're asking me not to be myself.
Yeah.
Right. And God designed me to do these things with everybody. It's who I've always been with everyone in my life, right? Not just career, what you hear on this podcast, or with my child, but like, and so I need the space to be able to be myself and the trust to be myself in that capacity.
Yeah.
And I also am so grateful when I'm in relationship with someone that has that reflection for me.
Yeah.
Because for someone to be able to see a blind spot I can't see in my life, it's a very rare thing. Like, you have to be in such alignment and clarity to catch one of my blind spots that I haven't already caught. So I look at that as invaluable.
Yeah.
If I have a friend like that in my life, I am so open to your truth.
Yeah.
Like, I am begging and longing for it.
Right.
If you have the ability to see an area that could use some attention from me, or an area where I could be getting it wrong because of where I am in life right now.
Yeah.
You're a unicorn, you're rare, and I value you deeply. I invest deeply into what this is.
Yeah.
So I require from people what I also give.
Yeah.
What I also require.
Yeah.
And so I love that I've landed there in my friendship, because
it's so reciprocal. It's
so reciprocal. And I don't waste time anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm a single mom. I'm a business owner. My child is 6. I also have a very big life. I'm the breadwinner. I have a lot of people that I support. And just the nature of the work that I do, I think about trauma and God and death and life all day. I meditate multiple hours a day. I pray all day. I have a certain kind of requirement in close friendship. And I have to be very, very pristine and disciplined and devoted in those areas of my life, you know? And so, I love that I'm there though, because I feel like everyone, it's reciprocal. And it's kind of like, thank you, God. Okay, this area of my life has harmony. But that's important to think about. What do you bring to a friendship? I know I'm willing to get in the trenches. I know I will get in the trenches. I may not be available every day. I may take a couple weeks to call back unless you tell me it's 911.
Right.
Because I have to tend to my own life first. I have to. I have too much going on. I have too much going on.
And it's like, and doesn't it feel good to like, you also know, like that's how you'll know, is like when you're around, you know, your friends and they get it. Right. So when you do call back or when you do show up, it's like you just pick back up where you started off. There's no like, you know, I'm not penalizing you or giving you any energy.
I'm not withholding now. Because I'm upset. So you got to earn it a little first.
Listen, no, it's none of that. And that's why I'm saying like your friendships, when it's really aligned, like you all operate on the same wavelength. You know what I mean? Like how you said when we opened up, like we all require, like for us instance, like we all require a certain flow, like when we're like inner and, you know, just doing our work and this and that. But at the same time, it's like we still hold space for the sisterhood. When we're together, there's never a beat skipped. We are so present. No one is like, you know, I didn't talk to you this week or whatever that is. It's like, oh, I'm so grateful to be here. Sis, you know what I mean? Like this is the sister medicine, you know, because I was doing all that, you know, I'm so grateful to be here, you know, with you because you are medicine. Right. And like just letting go of all of these, like any need to, I would even say like what's coming in my head now is like to penalize people, but also to create a trauma around it. You know what I mean? And
giving it a story,
creating a trauma. And this is where you do have to now, 'cause I just recently, you know, wrote some things about, you know, pay attention to who your nervous system feels, breathes easy around. Pay attention to who your nervous system breathes easy around. And that is only possible when you have done enough work to where you're not carrying trauma and your intuition is not distorted from like pain and trauma that you still haven't dealt with, right? So that you've done some work in order to show up in relationships a little healthier and lighter than you would have had you not, right? And so like, for instance, what we're talking about here is we all have done a certain amount of work in order to show up and not see each other for a week, not talk for, you know what I mean? And no one takes that personally. We're just like sending love, you know, sending emoji, like whatever it is. It's like, or even sis, I get it, you know?
I would say you and I had a great conversation, like maybe like,
this is good.
I know. You and I had a great conversation, like probably last month too, of just like, hey, we have not like, how many months have passed? We have not seen each other.
I know.
We haven't had a chance to dive deep. And I think for us, like we were able to kind of just have a great check-in of being like, what does friendship look like to you right now in this season? Like, how do you feel most loved and supported? What's possible in this season for us? And kind of, and we were talking about how both of us have, right now we've both been like very, very called to write and be with certain deep learnings that have come to us, especially in the last year. So we're both present with what are some of the new teachings that are coming through. We both have been investigating different layers of our health and our experiences with our health. And so we've both kind of been a little, you know, just like in our minds, in our own minds and in our hearts. And so we were like, so what does that look like for us this season? Like what would be like a good feeling for friendship? And we were kind of like, let's just send each other like text messages randomly, filling each other in on what's going on or sharing a song or sharing a picture. I was like, if you look cute, send me a picture. I want to see it.
Right.
And so then that's how we know to navigate in this season. And we've just checked in about that. And so that feels like enough right now. And
Yeah.
then if we need more, we can let each other know that. And I think those kind of moment by moment evaluations and just check-ins are really important. You know, it's like without taking it personal. It's like, hey, in this season, I am actually called to like just explore these inner workings and not kind of bounce it anywhere. And like, I've actually just been called to like do nothing.
Right.
To sit. But like, I know that I still have some stuff. I still have friendship to give. So if you need me, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that's so powerful. It's like it doesn't, letting it change form whenever it needs to change form.
That is so good. That's so important. And this is how you can go from sisterhood, you know, you can take your friendship from, you know, from time to time to time, or from, you know, timeline to timeline to timeline, because like what we had to give last year was one thing. This year is one thing. Next year, it may be next year or next month, you know, it may be like, girl, I've been over here every weekend. I know.
Yes.
Or, you know, like we want to plan the slumber party. So, you know, like it might be slumber parties like every week. But, and you know, like there's periods when we're all like, wow, like we've been regularly doing our spiritual circle together and this and that. And then there's other times when we aren't. But I love that our sisterhood allows for friendship to look at like what's needed now in this season. Yeah. Right? Like, how do we friend in this season? You know, because we know that there's a lot going on in the world and within us, but how can we friend now? And I think that that's such a good conversation to have. Like, what, even if you're a parent, like, how can I parent now? If you're in a partnership, like, how can I partner now? If you're a leader, you know, leadership, how can I lead now? Like, that is just, we can always renegotiate, you know, what's necessary or negotiate the contract, whatever. I just think just keep your heart open, like to have that open-hearted posture. If you know that this is really where you want to be, right? Because it's love, and it's just like, yeah, how can we lean into each other? And it's just always so fun because you get to rediscover. And I think it's also how you don't take your friendship for granted, because you get to ask and inquire, like, what's new now this season? You know, how can I show up? And you know, what are you working on and going through? What's on your heart? All the things. And I know that it can sound so Hallmark, but I love Hallmark and I love Lifetime. Like, I love, you know, and we were like, literally, like when I walked in today, I'm like, oh, it's giving like 90s. What did I say? 90s Christmas?
Yeah, I just put up a Christmas tree in the living room, and it is giving 90s Christmas. That is my mood board.
Christmas vibes everywhere. I'm like, oh, it's so good. But I just want to say, your home is like, you just like, it's a vortex. It's just like the cozy, comfy, like, it's not a tree house whatsoever. My goodness. But it's like, you know, when you're younger, you're looking at those books and it has like all the candles and the lights and the pies and the, you know, just all the beautiful things. And I love knowing as a friend, like, this is the energy that I get when I'm here. And it's just home. I get to relax. I get to let go. I get to let go of whatever was like before I walked in the door. And that goes to show that as a friend, you're also a good host. And I think that, like, how can you host your friends?
Thank you.
You know, oh yeah, you know, that's a gift you
Thank
have
you
for
so
sure.
much.
Yeah.
It's just one of my favorite things. Like, if a homegirl comes over, I'll be like, hey, how are you feeling? Let me put you in the bath. Come on, I'm going to run a bath for you. Like, it's grandmother energy. Oh, my sister. Okay. This is a very long episode. I'm going to keep it this way.
Where are we at?
This is for like the OGs on YouTube.
the OG community.
But I want to say, before we close out this episode, I want to say that I love and adore you with my whole soul and heart. You are an exceptional woman. Exceptional woman. You are anointed. You are chosen. God's light has been radiating through you since the moment you hit this earth. I'm so grateful you have said yes to your life and your mission, and for everything you share with us. You are a wise, beautiful medicine woman. And I'm so grateful for you in my life. I love you. I love you. I love you, Lalah, my sister.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I just want to receive that for a second. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you, sister. You know, I reflect that same sentiment back to you. And I always say, the grandmother energy. You carry such a wise, timeless, ancient energy, radiance to you, the way you sister, the way you love, the way you check in. It's like, whenever I see your name on my phone, I'm like, like,
Same.
And what I love about you is we just call each other. Like, it's not like, can I fit you in my schedule this week?
We will
call.
like the 90s. No,
90s.
like we are like old school, like the house phone is ringing. You never know who it's going to be. I didn't pick it up.
And we just call. And so, it's just know I'm always available to you. I give thanks for every hug, every conversation, every time we got to sit in each other's energy and environment and this auric field that we've created as friends. I just give thanks to you because that did not exist before we connected and we were brought together, I believe, from the divine.
Yeah.
And so I give thanks for you, the path that you're on, the work that you bring into the world, the voice that you're bringing into the world, this that you bring into the world. And we are all better because your light is in this world. And I just want to thank you, sis, so much. And when I say sister to you, I mean it.
Yeah. No, yes.
Like,
yes.
I mean sister from
you are my dream
nuns.
girl. I love you.
Thank you. We're giving, like, I told you this before. I was like, well, it's been many lifetimes. Like, this is from I don't know how many more lifetimes, but like your soul is just so familiar. I recognize you. And I know many of those lifetimes we were like nuns in a momonastery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somewhere.
That tracks.
Sometimes we were cutting up. Sometimes we were like all the way here. But yeah, I've just, it's amazing doing another lifetime with you. Another timeline. Yeah. I love you so much.
I love you so much. I love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I think today, as we close this episode, we've run over. So let me think of the soul work for everyone, because I think there is so much to sift through and to really savor and chew on. The soul work for this episode, Layla and I have been exploring values in friendship, boundaries in friendship, really understanding what is your type in friendship and who are you in friendship. And so each one of those things that I just spoke to, journal to that. What are your values in friendship in this moment? What do you give? And what do you really, really require? Like truly, really require? And really think about that and go over it a few times. But I think you'll find some special things blooming this next year if you find some clarity in that piece right now. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Namaste.